Joining me today on the Capital Show, Ambassador Joseph DeTrani. He is a former executive assistant to the director of the CIA. You are most welcome. Ambassador, I want to ask you first about your assessment of the state of international politics now.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Maria. No, I think the state of international politics is pretty sad, pretty bad.
Mhm.
I think with the wars of aggression and the elements of significant food scarcity and starvation, potentials for starvation, actual starvation in countries, and international terrorism, nuclear proliferation, and the axis of authoritarian states, I think the situation is pretty dire, to be honest.
Yeah, this lead me to ask you about the Gaza war and the negotiation. How do you think this war can be terminated?
Well, Maria, this is so sad. I mean, what happened on 7 October with the over 1,200 people being killed and abducted as hostages, very, very sad. And what's happening now is also very, very sad.
Mhm.
So, but to your question, I think it's important that, through negotiations, that it be resolved through negotiations. And that, indeed, that Hamas as a terrorist organization be eliminated, be
Mm.
defeated. And that is obviously important. But I would say before that, releasing the hostages, defeating Hamas, ensuring that there's humanitarian aid for the Palestinians who live in Gaza, and indeed moving towards a two-state solution, a Palestinian state,
Mm.
a strategy and implementation of a strategy to provide the Palestinian people with their own state.
Yeah, that's what is needed. Iran, you are expert in Iran, and I've seen you defending the Iranian resistance. How would the Gulf state can resist the Iranian ambitions in that part of the region of the world?
Well, Iran, especially with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Command and the Quds forces and so forth, but indeed with their proxies, whether it's the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas, we're just talking about Hamas in Gaza. I mean, Iran is a threat to the region. The mullahs and the Ayatollah, they want to aspire to be the regional hegemon,
Mm.
to be in charge of the region. So I think what we see with their proxies and what they see with their behavior, and also indeed what we see with their missile programs, and they're very nascent, but it's not a nascent with their actual nuclear programs, where they are on the threshold of becoming a nuclear weapon state within weeks if they wanted to make that decision.
Yeah,
And they
and
were pursuing nuclear weapons in the past. So I think the Gulf states have to be very, very concerned about Iran and its leadership.
now Iran is intervening everywhere, even in Sudan. We've read some articles talking about selling drones to the Sudanese armies, and we know all these proxies are influential. There is new territories can be under the influence of Iran, like Sudan. What do you think about how we can face these threats?
No, I totally totally agree with your question. And I think the threats, and you mentioned Sudan. I mean, this is something else where Iran is getting involved in Sudan. Iran is part of the axis of authoritarian states with Russia, with China, with North Korea and Iran. You put that all together, they aspire to be not only a regional hegemon, but they're out there to support resistance movements, revolutionary movements, anything that caters to their aspirations and their goals. So I think this is it's important to ensure that Iran is confronted and
Mm.
Iran is not permitted to succeed with their proxies and with their use of the IRGC and the Quds Force to involve themselves in domestic issues. And you mentioned Iran a second ago, Sudan a second ago. Absolutely. We see this is where Iran will be going. They will be expanding their sphere of influence and
Yeah.
going beyond the Gulf states.
Can
And they'll
we?
be looking to the region.
Yeah, yeah. Can especially on the Red Sea, it's a sensitive area. Can we count on the Biden administration in confronting Iran?
Well, I think we can. I think we can. I think we're seeing this as we speak. I think we're seeing this. I mean, this is we with the nuclear agreement was something that was being pursued because I think all agreed in 2015 that getting Iran not to have nuclear weapons, ensuring they did not have nuclear weapons was important. But we've seen Iran's behavior since 2015.
Mm,
And we see where they are now with that. So yes, I think the Biden administration understands what Iran's aspirations are, what their goals are, and I think with the Biden administration we will see, and we're seeing a significant pushback to Iran's efforts to proliferate their bad behavior in the region
yeah.
and beyond.
During your career, you handle sensitive narcotics operations, and Hezbollah is part of a global drug trafficking. Can you tell us more? Do you have any more information on this network?
Well, Maria, when I was doing the counter narcotics issues at the Central Intelligence Agency, that goes back to 2000, 2001. So I'm really a little, but I think it's very clear, even during that period of time, Hezbollah was very much involved in money laundering,
Mm,
drug trafficking. Certainly, we've seen and we continue to see significant drugs coming out of Afghanistan, but also if you will, the Hezbollah colluding with Iran on the trafficking of drugs. And even as far as Latin America, where Hezbollah had reached out to cartels, drug cartels in Latin America to collude with them to facilitate the trafficking of drugs. And
mm.
this is we're talking about heroin, we're talking about marijuana, we're talking about cocaine, significant. So yeah, Hezbollah has been very active, and I believe they still are very active in
Mm.
the drug business.
Are you afraid of how Hezbollah get the situation in Lebanon deteriorated? Are we facing a big crisis in Lebanon right now on the economic side or social side? So how do you see the future of Lebanon under, we can say, under Iran occupation?
Well, I think we're seeing it right now with Hezbollah and what's happening with Hezbollah and the capabilities that Hezbollah has, and there are significant capabilities. Not only are they working as if you will, as a semi-legitimate element political party in Lebanon, but what they're doing as a proxy to Iran to influence and obviously we see it with Israel and the threat to Israel's security. So yeah, I think Lebanon is a key area, and again, in this case, Iran using their proxies, the Hezbollah, providing Hezbollah with significant resources, financial resources to do their bidding, to do
Mm.
Iran's bidding. So this is, yeah, I mean, for the region and indeed for Israel, this is a real concern, and it should be a real concern.
Mm. Are we facing now a confrontation between would happen a confrontation in the future between Iran and Israel? And where is Saudi Arabia and the Gulf allies of the United States in this possibility? What would be their what would they stand with? So how do you see the image if a confrontation would happen between Israel and Iran?
Well, we were very close to seeing Saudi Arabia normalize relations with Israel. And some would say, and that may have been the spark that got, if you will, Iran to collude with Hamas for the 7th October terrorist attack
Mm.
against Israel. So I think it's pretty clear that Iran is very concerned about you know, the region and their control of the region, and their control and their concern that Israel is gaining that much more credibility with the Gulf states, certainly with Saudi Arabia. I think that would be major. And we have the Abraham Accords. That was very major during the Trump administration.
Mm.
So I think as we see Israel normalizing with the Gulf states, and that's the projection, because I think everybody wants to see peace in the region, right?
Exactly.
But
Absolutely.
the key is Iran, right? Because I don't think that's in Iran's interest
Yeah,
and
yeah.
in the Ayatollah's interest,
Yeah, they're gonna block this. They're gonna block any rapprochement between Israel and the Islamic world, especially Saudi Arabia.
especially Saudi Arabia.
Maybe this is why 7 of November happened, no?
I would agree with that. I
Yeah.
totally agree with what you just said on that. I think there was the concern, and we were so close. The corporate, the international, so close to seeing Saudi Arabia normalize, and that's the projection to normalize with
Mm.
Israel. And I think that's where Iran was very concerned. And I think I agree with what you just said. And I think they conspired with the Hamas to perpetrate the 7 October terrorist event.
7 October. All right, I will conclude on a note concerning intelligence gathering. All the intelligence agencies in the West said that the concert terror attack in Russia was done by ISIL, so a special force of ISIS. I don't know who they are exactly, but on the other hand, the Russian officials insist that this terror plot was made by Ukraine. How do you explain this contradiction?
Well, I think with the war of aggression starting in February of 2022, with with Putin, Russia, the Russian Federation attacking Ukraine, I think it's just convenient for them to say that. But here we have ISIS-K coming out and saying they were the perpetrators of this very, very horrific terrorist event.
Mm.
And in fact, the United States had provided information to the Russian Federation indicating that we had information, the United States had information that there would be a terrorist activity at a major event
Mhm.
in Russia. So I think all the pieces there are indicating that ISIS-K was involved, were the perpetrators, and why Putin continues to say Ukraine, and is even saying the United States may have been colluding with this. It's beyond the pale. It's hard to imagine, but I think this is the default for Putin. It's got to be Ukraine, and that's where he's got to answer to his own people. Because one of the things that Putin has promised his people, he will give them security. He will ensure that they would have a secure. And in this case, he failed with this terrorist attack.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ambassador DeTrani, I want to thank you for this interview. I learned a lot from you. Thank you also for your good service to the United States. It was a pleasure having you on my show.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
Hey, Maria Malouf here. Please click to like and subscribe to Maria Malouf TV YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.